my friends, how's it going? It's Ultimus, and today we're going to be taking a look at Scale of the Earth Warder, the Protection Warrior artifact weapon. All of the points and talents are specific to the shield. As you can see, it is in the pattern of the shield, not necessarily the sword. However, you do get a sword and shield model for your artifact weapon. One isn't being neglected over the other. And I must say that the skins for some of these shields are pretty dope looking. I'm curious to see what the sword's going to look like when it comes to the different skins and such, but I feel like the primary focus of Prot is the shield, so it makes sense that the shield would get most of the effort and time put into it for design and stuff like that. So that's pretty nifty if you ask me. If you want to see some of the skins, I'll go ahead and check out one of the other videos on my channel where I go over all of the skins for warrior artifact weapons, and then you'll be able to see all the Prot shields there. But let's go ahead and jump right in, taking a look first at the equip effect here. On Scale of the Earth Warder, critical blocks have a chance to cause 3 black dragon scales to erupt out of your shield, increasing your armor by 30% and causing 8 damage and 100% of attack power, vulnerability to any enemy hit. Interesting. So basically puts these scales around you that reduce or increase your armor by 30% and causes damage. So I'd imagine 100% of attack power causing 8 damage plus 100% of attack power. Maybe the 8's wrong. And vulnerability and percent vulnerability. I don't understand the last portion of that, but it sounds like it's going to be a nifty little shield that's going to do damage and increase your armor, so that can't be a bad thing, right? I also like that quote on it, I'm not going to lie. Here is whence true strength comes, from deep places within the world and within oneself. Very warrior-esque. I do have to confess, and I've said this every time, and I'll continue to say it, I'm a little jealous that Prot Warriors get Deathwing and Netharian type stuff, as he is my favorite Warcraft antagonist and dragon. That the fact that Prot gets all the dragony scaly stuff makes me a little jealous, but it's not enough to make me, re-roll Prot, though. Since we have access to all 3 specs now, come Legion. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to our first ability. Right here, as always, starting with the solid gold border, which is where all of our talents or traits and points are going to start. We're looking at Shadow Flame Shield. Enter defensive posture, causing all blocks to be critical blocks, and a stream of Shadow Flame erupts out of your shield, dealing 100% of attack power damage to all enemies in an 8-yard cone for 3 seconds. Interesting. So, okay, so it's channeled. So I wonder then if that means you can't move. My initial thought is that you're going to have to stay stationary when using this, and you won't be able to travel, or if you do, it will be reduced movement speed. But that being said, it is on a 45-second cooldown. The channel lasts for 3 seconds itself, so it sounds like it's going to do some decent damage, as well as be a nice defensive cooldown as well. So it's going to have both utilities on it, which is nice. What would be kind of cool is with glyphs, how they're changing glyphs and the little bit that is staying in the game, if you could like glyph this to make it like a stun or disorient, something like that, that'd be interesting. Let's take a look at Shatter the Bones. When Shield Block is active, Shield Slam has a 5 increased critical strike chance, up to 10-15. Makes sense. Strength of the Earth aspect. Devastate damage increased by 3%, 6%, 10%. Intolerance. Maximum rage is increased by up to 30 when you have it fully decked out. Which is kind of cool because that just means, it just gives you more rage to work with, obviously. Because I feel like the one rule for Prot Warrior tanking has always been since vanilla. If you're a Prot Warrior sitting at 100% mana, like a full, or not mana, sorry. If you're a Prot Warrior sitting at 100 rage a lot, he's bad. And so, like, as a Prot Warrior, you're constantly dumping rage, because you're generating so much of it, I feel like. Sometimes I feel like I wish as an Arms Warrior I generated rage as well as a Prot Warrior. I'm not going to lie. But, yeah, so being able to have a bigger rage pool is kind of nice because that gives you even more to work with, which is kind of cool. Very cool. Shield training. Armor is increased by 3%, 6%, 10%, which makes complete and total sense. Dragon Skin increases the amount of damage ignored from Ignore Pain. Oh wow, by 2%, 4%, 6%, and Ignore Pain already has a decent damage percent, like ignoring. So an additional 6% isn't nothing to snuff your nose at. And I'm imagining with your relic you'll be able to increase that as well. Let's find out real quick. Yeah, there it is. Dragon Skin. Boom. So that goes up to even 8%. I mean, you can probably even go, yeah, even more. So 10%. So we're just going to put all of our, oh baby, there we go, 12%. Not that we'd actually, do that, though. Actually, who knows what the actual build is going to be like for relics. I'm curious what best in slot will be. But yeah, so you can buff that even higher, which is kind of cool. Thunder Crash. Thunderclap damage is increased by 10%, 20%, 30%. Wow, that's a decent buff. Reflective Plating. Spell Reflect now reflects all spells cast on you for 5 seconds. That one actually, I kind of saw that one coming. Bummer, though, to me at least, and I hope this doesn't turn into too much of a rant, but I'm kind of bummed that only Prot gets Spell Reflection now. Like, Arms and Fury have no spell reflection, which is extremely frustrating, and I'm not sure how I like that change at all. But anyways. Will to Survive increases health bonus from last stand by 10%, 20%, 30%. Toughness increases stamina by 3%, 6% up to 10%. And I'm imagining you're able to buff these with relic slots as well. Yeah, so there's that one to toughness. Oh, yeah, there it is. So, yeah, for sure. Able to buff those up, which is kind of cool. Rumbling Voice. Duration and radius of demoralizing shadows increased by 50%. Might of the Vrykul. When you activate Demoralizing Shout, you have a chance to reduce the cooldown of Shield Slam, Revenge, and Thunderclap by 50% for 10 seconds. Oh, wow. So this is going to be a 10-second buff. It's not going to be just a once flat thing that reduces cooldown. It's going to be you have a chance to activate this buff, which for 10 seconds is going to reduce the cooldown of Shield Slam, Revenge, and Thunderclap by half. So that's kind of crazy. So over that 10 seconds, you're going to have even faster Shield Slams, Revenges, Thunderclaps. Pretty crazy. On top of, that 30% buff that you're getting from here. All right, pretty spiffy. Dragon Scales. Blocking an attack is a chance to generate 3 black dragon scales that orbit you. Being hit consumes one of these scales, granting you 10 rage and increasing the value of your next Ignore Pain by 100%. You get hit 3 times, that's a 300% buff to Ignore Pain. Hold on, let's do some homework real quick. I'll be right back. So Ignore Pain itself, baseline, is a 1-minute cooldown. It says you fight through the pain, ignoring 90% of the next total health, 25 ratio to 100, based on maximum health, total damage that you take from any sources. So you ignore 90% of the damage you take from any sources. So additional 300% on top of that with scales. Holy crap. That sounds a bit intense and maybe slightly overtuned. But, I mean, because you're going to get 3 of these charges. It doesn't say anything about an internal cooldown or not being able to stack. Because I feel like you're going to be using Ignore Pain a lot as a warrior since it's on a 1-minute cooldown. And I mean, you're going to be blocking a lot of attacks anyway, so I feel like this is going to proc fairly often. That's intense. I should have said this too at the beginning of the video, but I'm curious too how viable Prot is going to be in PvP, since they have completely removed Gladiator stance, which is a bummer, but I can understand it. I wish they would have just given us a 4th spec as warriors, but I understand it. But with stuff like this, I'm like, man, that's intense. So I'm really curious how Prot is going to do in PvP. Is Prot just going to be like the king of flag carrying again in Legion when it comes to rated battlegrounds? Jeez. Let's move on. Wall of Steel. Intervene now redirects 2 additional attacks, and the damage taken from those redirected attacks is reduced by 20%. Okay, kind of cool. Leaping Giants reduces the cooldown of Heroic Leap by 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds. Oh. That seems oddly placed, though, in Prot. Am I the only one that feels like that's an oddly placed trait? I feel like that would be almost more fitting for Arms or Fury. I don't know which one. I want to selfishly say Arms because I want Arms to have all the things. But that doesn't seem very well placed in Prot to me. And I know they're moving around some of this stuff, so we'll have to wait and see, but that just seems oddly placed. I mean, it's not a bad thing. Reduce cooldown on Heroic Leap by 6 seconds is nice, but it just seems like it's an odd place for that. Alright, let's go and look at our last trait here. Scales of the Earth Water. When Ignore Pain ends, your block chances increase by 2% until canceled? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you cancel that? Either way, though, after Ignore Pain ends, you're going to get an additional 2% block chance. Kind of an underwhelming last talent, unless that's not the last talent, but I mean, it's like nestled all deep in there, so I don't really know. I mean, I guess overall you'll be able to go get whichever one you want. Like, there's no like dedicated path you have to take. You just have to start here, but that seems kind of underwhelming compared to some of the other traits you get in here. I mean, it's not a bad thing again, but it just seems very underwhelming compared to stuff like, you know, Dragon Scales or even Might of the Vrykul. But geez, Dragon Scales is insane. Both of these sound really cool though, I'm not gonna lie. I like those a lot. I wonder if this will be reworked somehow, because it just seems very underwhelming, and with the same icon as well, that's interesting as well. I don't know. But Prot looks interesting. Prot looks like it's going to be an interesting spec. I would expect, and maybe my expectations are too high on this one, but I would expect good Prot warriors just to not die. Like, just looking at their setup right here, just artifact weapon alone, like, a good Prot warrior just is not going to die. I mean, not to say that he's going to be able to solo current raids on his own, there's just no way. But I mean, in a full raid and stuff like that with healers on him, or in a BG with healers on him and stuff like that, like, I feel like this Prot warrior nonsense is just going to be crazy. Definitely going to try it out, though. I mean, I'm not knocking it, for sure. I'm not going to say I'll never play Prot, because Gladiator Stance is gone. I mean, that was a fun spec, but definitely going to try it out. It looks interesting. Especially because, like, I don't know, I'm always tempted to go tank spec while leveling just to get through it as fast as possible, but when I go through with my warrior, it's always the first character I level through, so I take my time anyways. So going through as a DPS isn't really a problem for me. But yeah, looks cool. Sounds cool. Prot warriors look like they're going to be in a decent place. I'm curious to hear and see what the PvE experts think and what they say regarding Prot warriors from their perspective. I want to try to sit down and soon, I've got a couple people in mind actually. I want to see if I can get like a discussion going on where we ramble and talk about where our spec and class is going come Legion and what our anticipations are. And I want to try to get some top tier good players to do it. I've got a couple people in mind that I want to talk to about it. And one of the ones I especially want to talk to are people regarding PvE stuff, especially since I don't do a lot of PvE, so I don't really have a whole lot of input regarding that stuff. So if I could get some people in here that have a whole lot of input when it comes to PvE, that would be really cool. So I'm going to try to get that rolling. I'm in the process of planning it out and getting it on paper to see if I can get a good idea and a good like sketch for it. So we'll have to see. Because I mean, especially because Prot is typically a PvE spec as it is. Not a whole lot in PvP that you see, except for, you know, when people are severely undergeared and they're trying to do skirmishes or BGs and they just want to survive because they don't want to die all the time, or they're getting carried so they don't want to be a liability for the team, so they're, you know, taking Prot. But some interesting changes coming for Legion, that's for sure, because with all the stuff we're getting back, some of the stuff being taken away, moved around, being spec specific, it's going to be an interesting expansion to say the least. I'm definitely excited about it though. But that is going to do it for this video. So as always, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Don't forget to hit that share button on this video if you want to help promote the channel as well. I'm shooting for 500 subs come summer, so if you want to help me get there, that would be greatly appreciated. Don't forget to follow me on all the different social media platforms we got going around the channel here. You can follow me on Twitter. I have a Facebook page where I post my videos daily so you can know when they're going live instead of having to come back and check. You can also follow me on my personal Instagram, which, do be warned, of course, that is my personal account, so it's not all gaming stuff. It's mostly food and pictures of my dog. So there's that. But I throw that out there so it gives me a lot more mediums and places to keep in contact with you guys, for you guys to contact with me if you have suggestions or questions or just want to see how my day is going. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.